Good afternoon from yammybtv. Wishing you all well today. Sending loads of love. Hoping your weekend is going the best it possibly can. As you can see, I'm still on vacation. Loving the rest at the moment. I won't be going out anywhere. Honestly, the rest, when you need that time out to just have that little break again. But yep. I promised. I've been promising for a couple of days. I'm gonna break it down, the baddest man, my way. So forgive me if I have to do it in certain ways and keep running from back and forth to the characters and what I saw, and what I know, what I've read, I saw with my own eyes and certain behaviours that captivated me. Sadly, not from these guys in particular, but I know that my growing up stages from being, a low level criminal to actually in the 90s being around more gunslingers, if you like, in prison and then thinking, oh, there's another way to do all this kind of thing. You've got to be honest, I believed in it and thought that without actually thinking about what kind of frightening I'm doing when I eventually got round to doing it for rather silly things and then pulling it out and seeing firsthand what the effects are of the victims in front of me. But when we're talking about the baddest man, what we're actually talking about is what I associate with being a bad man. When I'm talking about wicked men, evil men, the nicest men, the hard men, we know that we mean having a row, that kind of stuff. But we're certain of us come from different parts of the country. We'll have different descriptions of what a bad man in that life that I saw, that I led, or a wannabe, if you like, and how it resonated with me and how important it seemed to me at the time, to do things in a particular way, to look a certain way, if you like, from one extreme to the other, from low level to medium level to the really extreme levels where men are actually coming out in broad daylight and firing shots on the high road in crowded clubs and taking it so far that you're going to actually take somebody's life with a gun. We know there's going to be victims that remember these kind of things forever and ever and ever. But the theme with mine, with the ones I'm calling, or the way that I'm looking at this bad man thing, is because a lot of their stuff and shootouts were with fellow criminals, without obviously, mentioning too much about certain people's cases and what they've got convicted of, because I can't. Some people might still be appealing. There were other cases as well that some of these men have had that they have been convicted on and were quite admit their guilt in things as well. But for the youth out there, it's very important for you to understand this. Because we're going by what I resonated with and why I thought these moments mattered so much to me. The drama that unfolds, the situations, who stays calm the most and who's always got their hand on the trigger, kind of thing. That kind of thing. But lying behind it all is when you live with these guys for years and years and years, you see how deep down they're scarred by the actions that they've caused. Because if we could rerun everything again, a lot of us, and especially some of the ones I met, they would have taken a different course of action. But the one thing that's definite, that we can all relate to, that when you want to be, or the exact extreme way you're going to go out, you don't mind dying. This is it. Everybody can see I'm doing it now, but really you're doing it in front of everyone. But there's going to be serious consequences in that life. So we spoke about, one of them. I can't go through all of them. There's 200, 300. We've got London, Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Leeds, everywhere, Sheffield, everywhere you can think of that I've met over the years. And I was there for certain situations when these so-called bad moments happened right in front of me, especially in the Cat A's, B's, etc. But you start with Danny Roth now. Allegedly, Danny Roth was an old time mentioned name of a gangster, where he allegedly shot Moody in a crowded place, and Charlie Wilson in Spain, and that all allegedly, remember that, and then being in a wheelchair himself, having been warned by the police that he's going to also get done, and him not caring and being in a wheelchair and still being told again, apparently, that when you've got to be careful, there's going to be a serious attempt on your life, and lo and behold, rest in peace, Danny. You felt that pain and the same way as many have felt along the way just before they go to their final resting place. Because you know that when you do such things, you know that you can't rest in peace, because some things are so serious that people never get over them, especially in the life of beef against beef, crime against crime, men against men, where loss of life is already involved in that kind of lifestyle. But the families and the victims' families will always have to be the ones that suffer at the end for that kind of behaviour. So, yeah, the biggest lesson of all with the Danny Roth situation is, live by the sword, die by the sword, apparently, and a soldier to the right end, and take it like a man. I don't care. I'm ready to die. And, I accept it as well. So, this is what it does, that game. You can never be sure when you are going to get it. Sometimes I think to myself, with the way that I looked at things, I would have gladly sentenced myself to the gallows for my crimes. Like felt so bad. So think about how it is, because it's not really all the men that are absolutely bad, 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 bad. It's the unfortunate decision that you feel by way of whether you were fearful of whether it was going to happen to you, or you had to make a big stand and a show to let everybody know that you're the man and this is how far you're going to go with this thing. This is what it boils down to. So that through the first experience of Danny Roth that I'm giving you, that is the extreme end to that lifestyle and that game when you're using this quite a lot. And I'll move on to also Gary Staggs. Now, Gary Staggs, wasn't convicted of real, serious murders and things like that kind of thing, but he was a hardcore robber, very, very brave, and allegedly used these weapons on fellow criminals as well. But inside of jail as well, a proper soldier. I remember being in scrubs with him in the early days, and he was plotting an escape from somewhere, and everybody was talking about it, and then he went into the courtroom and got out, and apparently, and took hostages and got made it. So watching that as a youngster and seeing him, thinking like this is going to happen, allegedly. Remember, so I'm watching and I'm thinking, yeah, is he really going to do that? You're captivated by that, and when someone pulls it off because you're with two other geezers and they don't, they get caught, but you get away and you see through what you do. At that time, that gets me excited. As a bad man kind of thing. And obviously, the stories in jail, there's been countless times where weapons have been pulled and knives come out. Remember, there's no guns in there. There's nowhere to hide either. When you got all the big fish in the main pond, the dynamics between it all, some of the names I'm going to call now, they've all been in around each other at the same time, and everybody says, who was better at it? Everybody did it in a different kind of way, but I'm going to get back to that as well. But Gary Staggs, yeah, big up, Gary. I'm hearing that you're still with us, but that life, I have to give you a mention there, for the non-stop consistent way, because I learned a lot of you with the bravery kind of things in those early days as well. And I'd never see you back down from anyone, and whatever you wanted at that time, you put all your offer to get it. There were some real crazy stories from the 90s when we was all doing blunders and Swellside, where everybody was getting stabbed or hurt at some stage during wherever they were going, and that. But yep, I put it that way. And there's always that talk with them. We're talking about K from Junction, and we're talking about GN, a big name over south, and then we're talking about Quincy, my nephew, for the reasons why they allegedly, fired guns and things like that, and the real beefs between them all. You had the famous one with K and GN, and another murder before that, and in a nightclub one night, three of them approached GN in there and said, yeah, I heard you was looking for me, and and straight away he says, well, if I was looking for you, what are you doing alive then? And these stories, and not so much that one, with me where I'm thinking about it, but to hear these kind of things growing up and things, they kind of, you're being led by what, the atmosphere, how calm they can stay in situations, and how dangerous, how appealing it was for me to hear such stories, or being there and being on the yard when that was said and all that, and being taken in by it all. And you think, for a youngster who's wanting to aspire to be with these kind of behaviors. Not saying that any of these guys were my role models with that. There's a collection over the years, because what a lot of you will know already is that when you're in jail, if you start off as low level, you can turn into a big major criminal, and you can start off at being scared when you first go to jail, and then being a raving nutter as time goes on, and all that as well. And as a flick back to the Gary Staggs thing as well, allegedly they was all on a coach getting transported from Blunderston to somewhere else, about eight of them handcuffed, because sometimes it weren't a sweatbox back in the day, but they all managed somehow to get out of there and get free, and there was a big court case over that as well, but I don't know all the details. Obviously I can't go into that as well, but some real daring, braving, wholehearted moves that nobody else tries at those moments, so I had to learn that, when you're looking to make examples, or I'm in fear of somebody, deep down scared, that if you do it this way, they're not going to really respect it that way. So you go, right, I'm ready to die today. I'll come out. I'll do it in front of everyone, so that everyone knows, But really, a lot of it is fear, isn't it, about what the other guy's thinking, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was that one in the nightclub, like when that used to resonate. Stories like that, I used to see and hear, and to see that, and everybody go, oh yeah, oh, you're not after me, all right, but because you're not expecting the answer that's coming back, you're expecting, if you've got your hand in your pocket, coming up with that life, coming to see, and then someone says, well, what is it? It's a question that can't be answered. Then if I'm looking for you, why are you? So it's got two meanings to it, like it's wrong what you're hearing, or it's right what you're hearing, but there's no real answer, is there? So, you kind of, all right, cool. And we heard about that one for years, like, in the Cat A's, there was one side saying, well, when they meet, this is going to happen, and that's all going to happen. You watch, it's all going to kick off, and my man will be able to beat him in a round. Watch when he thinks, I'm telling you, Yammy, it will go like this and go like that. And I say, no, it won't go like that. And then on the big day, it happens, and he comes, and finally they're going to meet after years and years of talking, and then you're walking over GNK, and you're in the middle, and then straight away Gian says something. Well, I heard that blah 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 blah. First word in, okay, out of respect, probably not scared, but no, take a check. Let me explain it for, like normally when all the build up to all these things, you're expecting it to go off straight away and all that. In the end, there was respect there. They hugged, salamed, and that was the end of it. It was the same with. Them early days are the reason why I say like the bad man thing as well, because a lot of these guys that I mentioned did it on their own kind of thing. With Quincy in them early days, what happened there, for him to have gone to the extremes the way that he did and got convicted. And, I know of things happening. Oh, hold on 1 second. No, I can't take that phone call now. Get away, please. Right? So then you've got him with his case when he sprayed the Mac 10, but before that even there were signs that he was getting the ump and had enough. And when things get too much on your head out there, you're thinking, well, it's going to happen to me. How do what do I do? Do I just sit back and wait for it to happen to me? Because you've got the knowledge that other people and other things are going wrong at the same time, so it can make you panicky, it can make you fearful. I've seen guys come in after, like you say, like for Tony's was another extreme case, but what were the emotions? What was he feeling? Common theme as well, I notice with a lot of guys as well. A lot of us got bullied as youngsters, but I think a lot of us get bullied anyway, but it's what hurts more as you get older. Because sometimes you can think, remember, like I used to remember, like boys that used to make me cry, and in later life, like I see them in jail, but I can't really go up to them and say, yeah, oh, hold on, remember when I was little when you did that and I started crying? But certain things, remember, and you're hurt by it badly. And then I see them and I wait for a situation, because you might be selling gear now or something in there, and then I'll be waiting for the moment where I say, yeah, good to it. And if you say no, or this, I'll make up some other argument, but really I'm hitting you for the bit that when I was younger, but you don't really want to say. You see what I mean? But that's what it was. So then everyone said, yeah, but it went like that. But no, it didn't go like that. No, they will say, yeah, hold on, I heard they met when he came from Whitemore. He came back to Whitemore. GM was still there. Kay was there, and that other one was there. Tone was there, and then everybody was there. But no, you wasn't. You got swapped over. You never got a chance to see each other. But then to everybody else who wasn't there, you get an opinion in your mind, because a lot of it is a get up kind of game, like where it depends what side you're on, doesn't it? That you want to win, but you can always never get away from the fact if somebody was there and they saw it. Do you see what I mean? And But then on the other hand, I saw one man argue back because GM was a man. Everybody does it in the way that they do it, like in different styles. I'm gonna get back to that. Sorry, but yeah, as well as that with the GM, there was other things as well regarding others. There was shootouts across the crowded dance halls in SW1 apparently, where things and you got thinking, yeah, really, is that how it went? But I gave these guys. That's what I was gonna say. It's because they stood alone in that life. A lot of things now, not, we obviously I respect that life no more, especially the loss of life stuff and the impact that it's made on a lot of people, and then seeing the expressions on a lot of people that have been convicted of these crimes that are tried by social media as being particular. But really, yes, it's bad what you've done. You have to be punished. I'm a firm believer in the crime. The punishment must fit the crime. But to see that that the regrets of the reasons why in their head at the time, the extreme level, that that kind of thing, and that they're wishing they wouldn't have done it that way no more. But that was that as well. But you think about Quincy as well, for that early bit before the case, and was letting off a couple of shots here and there. But obviously when he was in jail as well, like I always describe him as the worstest 21-year-old that I ever met, because you'd be in classroom and it'd be east, north, south, everybody would be all in there at the same time, and he'd be a minute there's any argument, like he'll just go, yeah, boom, I'll fire that one in, shut up, who you talking to, like, but no one was arguing back, that kind of thing at that stage. When he was really, 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 really crazy. So, that he had a lot of underlying things. Tony did it different. He would, he had so much remorse for certain things as well. Tony, always heart on his sleeve, but he would move more in a case of, like, as you say, the first word, what did you say? He'd be jumping on it, where GM would be throwing the tennis ball up against the wall and asking you little questions and playing with you, like with that. I remember the day when we was all on the yard, Kenny was, because they used to have arguments over the Cat A funds, the timings of it, because it used to clash with his time. They weren't 20, because when you're a double A, it works a bit more different than the normal Cat A, if you're in the Cat A's, if you get what I mean. And then Ken's pulled me and said, Yammy, can I have a meet up with your mate to, have a little thing? So I said to him, yeah, certainly, Ken. You come and do anything. So I brought them on the yard together because they didn't know each other at that time. And then GN and I've said to basically, I said, yeah, this is Ken, this is thing. Now talk about what you got to talk about with the thing. Straight away, GN says, yeah, so what you bringing to the table then? Like you think, and I have to look at him and think, why did you have to say that? Because I'm the one that's brought you over there. But then Ken looks at me and his face is looking serious and he's thinking, is he having a laugh or what? What kind of thing. So I diffuse it and that kind of thing, and they pat it down, and then they shake hands a little bit and blah blah blah. But it's always the ego thing as well. I think a lot of the time in life, what people, how they're portraying people in the papers and in the things, it's not really as bad. Like, it is bad, if you get what I mean. We, for whatever we've been convicted of, you've got to be punished, but it's not really face to face what I saw, and that being a bad man, for pulling out your thing on wherever you're pulling it out of, you're not scared to pull it out anywhere. This is what I resonated with that, and then when you go to prison, you're also the same way and that. But we could talk about loads and loads and loads. You talk about Wayne Oren, with a couple of things I'm not allowed to talk about, but with Wayne, rest in peace as well. Very, very decent geezer kind of thing, but allegedly, a lot happened around him, and I haven't seen him in jail as well. The kind of fear factor as well around him. A lot of people were absolutely terrified of him, but at the same time, he was loved a lot as well. But sadly, you never know the wrongs and rights or anything. But rest in peace there as well. With that, with that, and then you talk about a bad man in the sense that, yeah, Roger, he got convicted. Roger Vincent, he got convicted of a case, where allegedly he was outside a gym with an AK-47. It was the first of that kind, and from all the stories that I saw, and then you hear about this and that, because it was me that introduced. Well, we don't need to say that, but you see it in jail, and then you say that they said this out there and all that and everything, and he's this and they're that and they're proper that, but then at the time when I was there, nobody said nothing. Nobody said nothing. So you're just walking around freely and doing your thing and things. So you think about all the dynamics with the so-called bad men, with the certain stories that go with them, and then you see them firsthand that he would be able to say me up and swear at me, yeah, 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 shut your mouth kind of thing. But he could almost do it to everybody. But there was one person that could do it to him also, because I was there when G and another member of the South London was and butts up and then say, I don't care whether you're John Gotti, like to say, and then like the breathing, and you got to stop it as well. But the other, so-called bad men, the gunslingers, is which how I break it all down. There's no such thing. I can't say to you who was the baddest man that ever lived, because there's too many to choose from. I've got the Liverpool thing. We know we got the Manchester thing. I'm going to get round to Curtis and think about. I didn't see enough of him, but Presence I was good, and I watched and I saw, and then that who was approached and who tried what, and on certain days, and that it just didn't go that way. And then you talk about there's others as well from Manchester. We had the terrible gang wars down there where everybody was getting trigger happy during the Cheatham, the Moss side, and during those days as well, like meeting all those firsthand, and the beefs carry on in jail. Nobody gets a free run about anything in that life, and then it all plays up to the same thing in the end. Who got belittled, or who felt down, disrespected, or whatever, for you to reach the extreme level that you reached, to end up in those places, because they'll all tell you now, hand on heart, because a lot of them, obviously, we know now are changing their lives. Like I talk about my Big John. He's another one who did it, who was similar to Tony. Like, he waits on edge and then waits for you to say the wrong thing, and then they're going to move to you straight away. Everybody does it a little bit different, and it depends what your motivational is, because you remember, they're not running around looking for stuff and in the thick of it, and picking up the dynamics. But can you imagine being there and like being in the centre of the wing every day, me, and then you got Tony on edge, standing up there looking and drumming his fingers on a thing, and then you've got Kay thinking about things like, and you've got Roger that think he's thinking in that way, and then you've got GN who's throwing the ball, and then you've got him from Tottenham, and then you've got them from East. There was so many of them, rest in peace. One of them I kind of rated F as well. You had to lose life. And then what about Porky as well? He was allegedly involved in so I'm talking about Dark Porky, one of my mates, and that as well, allegedly was involved in outside things, and a couple of things were fired allegedly again, but inside, and but they're not really on stuff like that. But look after yourself and get wicked when he has to. You see what I mean? It's all different things, but all these guys, I realise, had soft souls, and wouldn't be able to put my finger on it, because I could say to you that GNK, GN thing, whatever, when it all comes down into the melting pot, who has got that little bit, but everybody's on tender hooks. It's like ticking time bomb, some of it there, and I just used to be able to feel it all at once, that just because they say hello to each other and there's a bit of respect due, and remember, there's no rules to it as well. Other people were out here saying, yeah, that he done blah blah blah, but in reality, you kind of cheated and caught him to do it that way, if you get what I mean. It wasn't face up front, it was something that everybody could do, but there's no rules to this game, especially when someone else is more fearful, because you're thinking you've got to match that. If he's going to come at me that way, or maybe more, what extreme level is he? So it can make you push him. This is why that life, and this is why everybody I'm seeing out here today, and there's other ones as well that I will talk about undoubtedly, but I have to have my stories and situations to go with it. So, you saw how easily taken in a man like me, from a low-level criminal who's been around, and when you picked up that first gun as well, like in the 90s, when I was around all the robbers to start with, and blah blah, but when I started doing the big shifts from the 90s onwards after the Queen's Pardon, I kind of changed about that point, and I thought, well, as long as I don't mind dying, then I'll be all right, kind of thing, because nothing ever really mattered to me more than that. But I realise now my own story is that I was doing it because I sentenced myself to death and the gallows over things that I might not have been so guilty about, but emotions can really run high. You think about it every day, being around all of them. I mentioned them more, and then you've got the raving lunatics in the background to think about. You can get attacked at any time, but a lot of those beefs, when they reach jail, they can be really, really, really serious. And up to today, they're still going on. So I don't do all that with the badness, the bad thing. The baddest man, like people are getting confused, like they were talking about the hardest man earlier on, and I'm talking about in the Cat A's with the fighting and what I saw and who was undefeated in certain things, and a lot of these were undefeated in all areas of the if you want the art of war and survival in those places. So I remember me picking out different parts to all these figures over the years of 40 years of institution as a little boy, taking bits out of their character. Oh, that's how he did it. That bit sounded really good. Oh, yeah, the day that they were staring at each other. And then he just reached in quickly because you're thinking, wow, is that how he do it? You get taken in by it all. You've got to be very careful because what I found is in the end that when you get there, you're very much alone to live with everything because everything seemed to me like it was all for the wrong reasons in the end, not for direct hatred towards a certain thing. And then obviously I have to mention Sati as well, rest in peace. You know, one of the other angles that happened, Clifford Angle, my boy Mozart, you know, another scenarios that you have to watch out for is that, you know, friends you meet in jail, again, we've talked about it, come out, yeah, I'm with you, yeah, I like him, you know, he's kind of cool, but then he rings you one day and he says, yeah, there's a little move here to come and rob this and rob that, and then you turn up and he's got the enemies there waiting, and he had to lose his life as well. But these are the things that you're going into. There's no moment of peace. That living on the edge can really become a real pain in the backside once you've been living like it every single day in there, you know. But I'm hoping, how much time is gone? Bloody hell, 25 minutes. All right, I'm going to come back up. I'm going to try and come back up, give me some names and that, you know, what it's like. But obviously we know about Frank Burley and Leeds. We know about, you know, Manchester. We know about Liverpool and Sam, and, you know, Manny Curtis and all the other ones that have gone on there that we don't mention. But I'm open to all questions as long as they're respectful and I can deliver it in the best way possible, to relate it to my story and how I looked up to certain things. And then always remember, you know, the wives and the families of those who are never getting out, and some people that could have said couldn't say nothing to certain people's face in jail. You know, they want to come out here and take it out on their wives and things like that, you know, and then start bullying and hitting the weakest link and blah blah blah. But yet when I was there with you all in there, couldn't say that to their face. I could never understand it, because if you couldn't say it to their face, then how could you dare inside if you want to take it out on people that can't really fight back, who are vulnerable already, and things like that, you know, and have to be punished for a lifetime. There's no winners and losers on either side. We've got to deal with the victims of the families that are lost, you know, in that kind of way as well. And that was and then you've obviously got the families that are still visiting the perpetrators who you know, will give up their life and soul, surrender their life to them because they love them that much, and then they've got to be picked on out here and all that as well. But, you know, hands on head, hands up. You know, I was a follower, and I wanted to be like everybody. And then, of course, in the end, you know, you don't remember who you were, your loss of identity. So, different style, my boy, and everybody else out there. I hope I've made some kind of sense. I did it in the way that, you know, Yammy has to do it sometimes. But yeah, there's more coming, because remember, there's loads of cities all over the country. But I have to get some of these things spot on. All right, sending loads of love. Love you all. See you soon.